So for test purposes, it says we're now streaming live on YouTube. I haven't actually been over to YouTube to look at it other than the notice back from YouTube that something's coming in.
Yes, we've been advised that we're all going to be media stars. All right, we're up to 12.
For test purposes, it says we're now streaming live on YouTube. I haven't actually been over to YouTube to look at it other than the notice back from YouTube that something's coming in.
All right, so somebody's playing back the YouTube, so I guess it's working. We've been advised that we're all going to be media stars. If somebody is using the live stream could you turn that off, because it's creating an echo, at least for me. So somebody's playing back the YouTube, so I guess
yes,
it's working.
I can. I think I've got it off now.
Okay, was that you, Bill? Somebody is using the live stream. No, it's still. Could you turn that off, because it's creating an echo, at least for me. Somebody's playing back the YouTube, so I guess
yes, I can.
Uh-oh.
It's an echo with a delay too. Okay,
yeah,
let's.
Yeah. You, Bill? Somebody is. Right? Did that take care of it?
Well, I took care of it here, and it sounds like I don't hear the echo coming through you.
Right.
So it sounds like maybe it ended there too.
Yeah, I think you fixed it.
And I guess I could go to another system and see if it's still okay there, but it looked like I just hit the playback button. It worked so smoothly when we had two people to deal with that administration. When you only got one, it's a little harder because it all has to find a way someplace on the screen.
Yep. We'll make it work. All right, we've got quorum and still 3 minutes to go. We'll wait a couple of minutes, give people a chance to join.
And we have a total of 42 or 43 registered, so we're about halfway there.
Let's wait a couple of minutes and give a few more of those 42 a chance. Feel free to say hello to each other while we're waiting. We'll have to be quiet for long enough once the meeting starts.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Ian.
Robert, I have no idea how to change settings for chat. That wasn't anything that I did on purpose.
What setting are you after?
Well, Robert pointed out that our chat is not allowing individual messages, which may be true, but I don't know that I can do anything about that.
I might be able to. I'm going to look.
Actually, well, maybe because I'm a co-host, I'm able to, but it may be that others cannot. We can certainly look into that.
As well.
But we're
I can as well.
We can look into this for future meetings if people want to be able to chat with individuals. But I'm afraid it's what it is for this meeting. And my computer is saying 3:01. I'll wait another minute, see who else might join. See, no sooner do I say that than we have somebody new. Arlen, you're here.
The setting says people are allowed to chat. I have a place to enable the waiting room too. Maybe I will.
All right. My computer is saying it's 3:02. So, and we've got a quorum for this group is 15 people from 3 towns. And I am happy to say that we have got that very comfortably. So, welcome Democrats to the October general membership meeting of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee. Thank you for giving some of your Sunday to Democrats, but you're also giving some of your Sunday to the state and the world. So here we go. I had circulated an agenda last week. First order of business on the agenda, as always, is approving the agenda. Does anybody have any proposed corrections or additions to the agenda? The other thing I will ask everyone to keep in mind is if you want to add things to the agenda, you may be adding to the length of the meeting. That's fine with me. Just keep that in mind. If you want to change the agenda, you can either raise your hand or politely let me know. Tom, I see your hand up.
Seth, time permitting, I'd like to have a brief discussion on the platform for the Democratic State Committee.
Well, we can introduce that. I'm not sure that we're going to have time to have more of a complete discussion, and we didn't have it on our agenda, so people who might be interested might not be here. But time permitting, I would certainly let you make a brief presentation on it. Does that sound okay for this meeting, Tom?
Yeah, that's all it really is just making people aware of what's going on, the work we're doing.
Okay, let me just make a note. Lanny, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I didn't get the agenda, so I don't know why that happened, but I didn't, and I searched pretty carefully for it.
I am sorry about that. There isn't an easy way for me to screen share it because I don't know that I kept it as a discrete document. Just for your information and everyone else's, I generally send out 3 mass mailings on the meetings. The first one is just going to say, keep your heads up. This is the date. Then at least a week before the meeting, I send out a second message that includes the agenda and goes into more detail. Thank you, Angel. Angel is giving us a link to the agenda. But I send out a second message that's at least a week before the meeting in which the agenda is provided with some more description if needed. Lanny, did you see the message from Angel that gave you a link to where the agenda is?
Yes,
that
I
help you?
got that. And I got another question is if your emails come under something besides Seth Bernia, because the last email I have from you was in June, and I've searched my emails pretty carefully. So
But they are coming from Cumberland County Democratic Committee, not from me. But I don't want you to broadcast your email address here. But if you could make sure I have your correct email, that might be the problem. I could have entered it incorrectly, and that would explain why you're not getting things that I would want you to get. You're here
Okay.
for today, but let's make sure I and Bill have your correct email address so that this doesn't happen in the future. Okay, Tom, are you able to lower your hand now that you're done? Bill, I see your hand up.
Okay. 2 items, one of which chat is now working. The second is the other email that sends things out is main CCDC. And that's the one that Zoom uses for registrations and so forth. So I sometimes use that when I'm sending things to everybody. But the agenda is also, or at least a link to it, is posted on the website.
All right, so
And
hopefully
that's the usual case, actually.
So hopefully that will help take care of confusion in the future. Less confusion is better. So hearing no other concerns about the agenda, I will take that as approved. Also in the mass mailing that I sent out a week ago, I provided a link to the minutes from our previous meeting. Are there any corrections that need to be made in the minutes from our September meeting? Hearing none, I will consider the minutes as received. Item 3, our treasurer's report. Bill.
Okay. We still have $10,766.78. Plus I have a check that just arrived for $5 and another check that's in transit. These days, it seems to take the post office about 10 days to get a check from Act Blue in Boston to us. But since I know it's taking that long, we generally, keep track of when the contributions occur and when things happen. But in any case, we do have money. We're fine. I see somebody saying in chat that I can have it auto deposited from Act Blue. Well, that'd be a recent change. At one point, we couldn't. I can check and see if they've now changed their rules, but there was something about the size of the group and the number of things that were done that prevented us from having them auto deposited in the past. But I can check on that. Other than that, yes, we spent some money at the fair, on supplies. We did our registration, everything worked, and there's not much else that's new and different. At some point in the near future, we'll be submitting a budget, but that's not going to happen during this meeting. And we actually need to have a different meeting of the Finance Committee to get that all prepared. So we haven't forgotten it. It's whether we'll have a fundraiser early next year, we don't know yet. Don't discount the possibility.
Are there any questions for Bill on that report? Seeing no hands, hearing no polite requests. Next item. Very sad to say that Marcella Marino, who had been our first vice chair, found herself a little overwhelmed with too many other things and has had to step down as vice chair of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee. So we are now open to an election for what would be the second vice chair. Larry Flaherty, who had been the second, will move up to first, and we would be replacing Marcella. There are no demographic requirements for this position. The only requirements are that the person be a registered Democrat in Cumberland County. Nobody let me know in advance. Oh, let me also say that the executive committee has been meeting roughly every other week. And we have found that that is a schedule that is needed to do what needs to be done to keep the CCDC moving forward. And obviously, any officer of this group, we would want to attend the general membership meetings. How often those meet is on today's agenda. To this point, we have been aiming for every other month. This is now the second month in a row, and I'll be making a request that we be allowed to meet next month. So that gives you some idea of what being an officer for the Cumberland County Democratic Committee entails. One of the good things is that it is a bigger group than just me, and I look to the executive committee to help make decisions rather than me making decisions alone in between when membership meets. So if you're interested in being part of decision making for this group, becoming a vice chair is a way to do that. So are there any questions about what the position involves? Is there anyone interested in running for that position? Rosa Noreen, I see your hand. Are you saying that you would like to run for that position?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes.
Great. I would like to nominate Sarah Gormady.
Okay. Marie, I see your hand up.
I will second that nomination.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to nominate anyone else or wants to run yourself?
We probably need to have Sarah agree to it.
Ah,
You know,
that's a good point.
But she probably needs to say, yes, I would accept it if voted in.
Okay. Sarah, do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination in the second. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other nomination, either of someone else or of yourself?
I will nominate myself.
Okay. Heidi, I see your hand up. Are you not?
Yes, I very much would like to support Sarah Gormady.
Okay, we're not doing that now, Heidi. What we're doing right now is just looking for nominations.
Okay.
Do you have a different
Sorry.
nomination to make?
Nope.
Okay. Nancy, I see your hand up.
I was going to nominate myself, but
Okay.
I support and second Angela Butts as vice chair.
Okay. So we have right now two candidates, both of whom have been seconded. Angel, you nominated yourself, so I assume that you're willing to accept that nomination. I see a nod of the head.
Yes, thank you.
Is there any other nomination for the position of vice chair? I don't see a hand. Anyone want to speak up? Okay, unless there's an objection, I would consider the nominations closed, and we have two candidates, Sarah Gormady and Angel Butts. I'll let you both give a 3-minute campaign speech And I'll just take it in the order in which the nominations came in. So Sarah, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Seth. I think a lot of people here look quite familiar, seeing as I organized the region in 2018 and then moved on to state organizing in 2020. So my face is probably familiar. Most recently, I worked on the October 2nd organizing of the Women's March for reproductive rights. And yeah, I do phone banking every weekend. So hopefully some people will join me. I am also a full-time social media manager. So I manage social media communities. And I am currently working on my master's thesis on political speech on social media. So I do a lot of this work professionally and not professionally. So I understand the bylaws very well. I understand the construction of how we interact quite well, especially with our many committees, our town and cities, the Cumberland County Committee, as well as the State Democratic Party, as well as the DNC. So I'm a wonk. I've organized probably about 10,000 volunteers at this point in Maine. So I hope I'll be able to help you out this round. I don't like the ringing bell of Governor LePage, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't either. So let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Sarah. Angel, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Excuse me. Hopefully a lot of you have come to become familiar with my face at these meetings since the first of this year as the communications chair for CCDC. I've been serving CCDC throughout the year, working with getting a lot of the agenda items together, speaking to, I addressed you earlier this year about how we can start using social media to get our messages out, get our messaging out. And I've been working particularly in the last month or so to try to get these agenda items out so that we can make our social media work better for us in a way that is more, is better defined so that we have a clear set of rules and we understand the best way to work together to make that a more pleasant experience. I work very well with the committee as it stands. I've been regularly attending the executive committee meetings, so I have a good history and a good rapport, and I would like to become even more active with the group. So I hope you will consider putting me, moving me up from the communications chair into an executive position.
All right, thank you, Angel. I think that both candidates have spoken very well for themselves. I don't think that we need to have any further campaigning from members. Members can now do their campaigning by voting. Bill, are we able to send out ballots with the 2 names on them to?
I'm working on it. I'm not quite there yet. I got the list of voters, but I need to get the rest of the ballot stuff set up.
Lenny, I want to make sure that you get a ballot. If you haven't been getting emails from us, and it may be because we don't have your correct email address, and that's how the ballots are going to go out now. We will be doing this by private ballot. So Lanny, how do we make sure that we get this to you? If you don't mind giving us your email address for the whole group.
If you like, I have Lonnie's email address. I can forward it to her.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
And then the next item on the agenda is a discussion of how public or private we want our membership information to be. So we'll tackle that kind of issue head on with this group. But for right now, I just want to make sure that you're able to vote. So perhaps while we're waiting for Bill to prepare the ballots, we can start that conversation about how public or private we want our membership lists to be. To this point, there is a membership list, but it has not been public in any way. The membership list includes name, town, email address, telephone number. A couple of people have quite reasonably asked if they could get the list of members of this group. I think that what information is made public and to whom. Yes, Nancy, there are only two candidates, Angel Butts and Sarah Gormady. So there have been questions about what information should be made public and to whom. And why don't we start that conversation now and see if we can come to a decision by the end of this meeting. Anybody have any thoughts? Lenny, I know you were one of the people who had asked about getting membership lists. So if you have want to explain why you think it would be helpful. And I'm not saying this to say that I don't think it is helpful, but since you were one of the people who raised that question, perhaps you could start our conversation.
Well, sure. I don't know that public is quite what I was thinking of. I was thinking of this group. And I'm not quite sure that I fully understand the difference. If you post names, telephone numbers, and email on the web, it's a little bit different than circulating it in the committee. I just sort of, frankly, I mean, we have a list of telephone numbers. Well, I'd rather have emails than telephone numbers. So, I guess it just sort of depends on where you're coming from, as far as that goes.
Sure. Rachel, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, and happy to explain what happened in the past in terms of conversations, and a reminder that the delegates to the CCDC are actually delegates from a town nominated by the people in the town, and their names are sent forward to the CCDC as part of the caucus process. There are people who are elected as members at large. The conversations that we've had in the past have come down to what information is entrusted to us that we can send out and what information is in effect public. And kind of like the, I guess, what we ended up with is deciding that the names and the towns of people is in a sense public. They are elected at a public meeting. They are elected at a caucus. They are sent forward as official representatives. And if somebody wants to know who the official representatives are, that's fine. But those people who were elected did not give us permission to use their emails or their phones for any purpose other than a purpose of being contacted by the CCDC. So that's the decision that we made. We tossed it around, and by we, I meant the executive committee, and decided that probably met standards for a balance between public information and private information. So that's where we were.
Angel, I saw your hand next, and then Sarah. Angel, you're muted.
Going back to Lonnie's comment, yeah, I think the confusion here, I think, is coming from the idea that even if we were to say that that we want to share information with each other as members, that we want to make a list of some limited information available to ourselves as a membership body, The real question would be, how are we going to make that information available to each other and only each other, right? Like, we don't have a password protected area of our website. And we don't, at this point, have not decided whether we're going to limit our Facebook group only to members of the CCDC. So if that would be one argument, for example, for limiting that group to membership only, because if we did, we could post that membership list to that Facebook group as a file and have that file be available and accessible to members of that Facebook group only, because in that case, it would be only CCDC members. Does that make sense to everybody? But as long as we have members of that, as long as we have people in that Facebook group that are not CCDC members, then we wouldn't be able to post that file there, because we wouldn't want that file to be accessible to people outside of CCDC. So, we would have to have some way, if we decide that we want to share that information, we would have to figure out a way to make it only available to us. And we don't have a way to do that right now.
Sarah, I saw you next, and then Heidi.
So I think one of the things that we've all discovered over the pandemic is that we are all fluidly in our geographies, and we are only all available as much as we can be, with limitations to our travel and our time working remotely. So one of the things that I think that is coming up for a lot of people in this larger Cumberland County Democratic Committee group is that contact with other members of this group is through our chairs. So if we want to organize something as simple as a Zoom meeting, nobody has emails. If we want to talk about best practices for anything or get support for a candidate, it makes it very hard and very inefficient to communicate to each other. And I'm sure most of us have noticed that. It used to be we could just knock on our neighbor's door, or we could show up at a place and plan a meeting. And it's become really, really hard to do that. So I don't think the question is, do we post these things to Facebook or do we do this? It really is that the chair and the executive committee of the Cumberland County Democrats have access to Van and know how to get a hold of all of us and have their email lists. And then the chairs have their access to Van and their email list and know how to get a hold of us, but we don't know how to get a hold of each other. If I wanted to do something with somebody in Bridgeton, I would have to pick up the phone and dial the people I know in Bridgeton. And that has changed significantly. We can see clearly our membership consistently changes very, very quickly. So I think it's a matter of logistics and how we now have to work through organizing more than publishing our membership publicly to everyone to see, which is already part of what we do. If you are a member of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee, anybody can find that out. What they can't do is just call you up or email you. So those are like questions on the table that don't necessarily need to be answered. And I don't think the question was to make this like our contact information public, but to be able to contact each other and know who's a member of the Cumberland County Democrats. And, if we wanted to get together and see, see how many people we can get to Harlan's, protest against racism every Friday, or talk to Heidi about her work that she's doing for the Indigenous communities, or, send some people that are vacationing in Bridgeton over to Larry. We don't have efficient ways of doing that.
Just to clarify, I think all questions are before this membership. At one level, it's should all members be given the names of all other members? Right now, there isn't a clear answer to that. It may be that that's as much information as this body wants to share. Another question is, should the list of members without any other identifying information be available to people outside this group? So for instance, if the Cumberland County Republican group wants to contact us to try to convince us to switch parties, should they be allowed to know who's a member of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee? Take both of those extremes, do we want to make email addresses and or phone numbers available to members of this group? Do we want to make them available to candidates who might not be members of this group? Do we want to make them available to anybody who asks? So there's a wide range of possibilities, and this membership can decide what it does or does not want, and hopefully we will get to a point where we can take a vote and make that decision. Bill, are you about to tell us that we are ready to get ballots?
Well, they've started going out. Hopefully people are going to. Now, if somebody joined the meeting in the last 2 minutes, there's some chance they won't get a ballot, because I was working with a list from 5 or 10 minutes ago. So if somebody doesn't get a ballot and they think they're a voter in the next few minutes, then they should let me know. I had a couple of typos on the list. It's been a while since we used this ballot system. So it wasn't oh, you just press the button and away it goes. It took a little more juggling to get everything in place, but it looks like the ballots have gone out.
So everybody should be checking their email to find a ballot. I'm going to see if I've gotten one. So I haven't gotten it yet, but let's keep an eye on that, because we definitely need to conduct a vote. So I have, let's see, Heidi, you were next, and then Janet.
Thank you. I think it would be great to do a public listing with our names, at least, maybe not the towns, but just because I think that there are possibly issues of privacy involved. I know that when we go to be elected in our towns, that might be public knowledge. But I think that, like, for people that might have stalker issues or domestic violence issues, that we might really want to make sure that that people's privacy is respected, if that's possible. I do love the idea of being able to be in communication with people who are part of our group, and having an internal phone number and email list so that we can be more connected to each other and be more effective in the way that we can conduct business.
Thank you. Janet.
Yes, thank you. A couple of things. One of them is that, in my opinion, a members only tab on our web page would be a way to handle this. I know as a member of Maine Education Association, that's how we handle information that we want for members only, and it's password protected. And also, as far as putting things on Facebook, as great as that seems to be as a way of getting people together, there are people like me currently that are doing our best to cut ties with Facebook. And so for me, I think being able to contact somebody by email through a members only tab on the web page would be more effective. And I do agree with Rachel that when I agreed to become a member of Cumberland County Dems, I wasn't doing it with the idea that everybody could get my phone number and my email information, especially in a town where I'm from Gorham, and in local races, we do our best sort of to stay neutral as far as party affiliation goes. So those are just some of the thoughts that I have about it, I guess. And it also seems like, besides knowing each other, there's a lot of question often about, am I personally on the committee or not? So just for us to be able to go to a space where it has a list of us, I think would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Bill, I haven't gotten a ballot yet. I don't know about anyone else. Have they all gone out?
I'm working on that. I haven't received one either.
Okay, well,
I thought hit the buttons, but I may need one more button that says go.
okay. Well, we still have plenty of other business to do. We definitely are going to have an election for vice chair before we end today. At least I sure hope we do. So we've had some ideas on our membership list and information that goes with it. Is anyone ready to make a motion about how we use our membership list? Rachel, I think I saw your hand first.
Yeah, my suggestion was going to be that this has been a very good discussion, but it's possible that people really need to digest it and check with their towns. The town chairs might, certainly, I would like to go back and check with my delegates to see where they are. And I don't know if other town chairs would like to do the same thing. So I guess I would actually suggest that the executive committee noodle on this for a while and come back to us with something, with some sort of a recommendation that we can then deal with. Right now, this has been a pretty broad discussion with a lot of elements.
If
I also would ask that, you know, if you do come back with something that it does allow, if you're going to recommend a broad publication or information that includes contact information, that there be allowances for opt-out for those people who have concerns.
Am I to interpret what you just said as a motion to lay on the table?
No, I don't think it should be laid. Nothing can be laid on the table if we don't have a motion. I don't believe. What I thought was is a good discussion that this is something that the executive committee could come back to us with a recommendation that we could deal with.
Okay, but you are.
It's a suggestion. If you would like a motion, I can make it as a motion.
Well, you've got the floor. If you have a motion to make, we can entertain it, and if not, there are a couple of other people who have had their hands up, and maybe they have a motion to make.
All right. Well, then I make a motion that the body send this to the executive committee for the executive committee to discuss, taking into consideration the issues we've raised, and come back to us when they have a recommendation for us or a motion for us to consider.
Is there a second to that? Looks like Larry's hand is up. That's a second. So I interpret this as a motion to lay on the table to be brought back at a future date. This motion is debatable, and it is decided by a majority vote. Is there any discussion? And right now we're not looking at other proposals. Is there any discussion about Rachel's motion that this be not decided by membership today, that it be sent to the executive committee to make a proposal to come back to membership at a future point? So if there's discussion, it's about Rachel's specific motion. Janet, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we take into consideration in the comment section, Robert Deacon has suggested that we look into what other county committees in the state does for the executive committee to consider that, if that's the way that we go with this motion.
I can say that as a member of the Caucus of County Chairs, I will certainly reach out to other counties to see how they handle their membership lists if this is sent to the executive committee for further consideration. Heidi, I see your hand.
Yes, I would like to suggest that that when the executive committee looks at what they might want to do to bring something back to us, that maybe what we can do is leave it up to individuals to say, I would like, or to send out to our membership a list of what things that they would like to be put to be considered for, whether it would be their public information and where they might want to be able to send that to, whether it be to be shared, information shared on websites or social media, or if they can want to share their phone numbers and emails with us as individuals, as members of this committee.
So Heidi, if I can interrupt you, I don't understand Rachel as telling the executive committee what the proposal should be. The executive committee, if this carries, will look at all possible ways of dealing with membership. We'll then come back to membership with a proposal. At that time, the concerns that you have and that anyone else has can be discussed in terms of accepting or rejecting or modifying the proposal that the executive committee is going to make. But I don't think that it is appropriate for us to be looking at what the executive committee hasn't even done yet right now.
Well, it was just a suggestion that they.
Okay, Heidi, thank you. I mean, we have gotten your suggestion, and the executive committee will, if this carries, the executive committee will consider all suggestions, and everybody will be free to make suggestions to the executive committee if this carries.
Okay, thank you.
Paula, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really like to support Janet's idea of a private tab on our webpage. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also wanted to second what Rachel said about an opt-out possibility for anyone who feels uncomfortable with the final resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Again, I'm going to ask comments at this point to be about whether this should be put off to the executive committee without looking at the specific details of what might come out of the executive committee. Again, I will try to circulate to everyone, if this carries, the opportunity to provide suggestions to the executive committee, but nothing that the executive committee does will become the policy of this group. It will just be a proposal, and this group can then accept it, reject it, or modify it at a future meeting. Sarah has told us that the ballots are now working. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Bill. People check their email. Yes. So yes, I believe we now have ballots. If we could briefly interrupt our conversation on Rachel's motion to vote. I'll allow 5 minutes for people to cast a vote, and this will be either for Sarah Gormady or Angel Butt for vice chair. You can abstain by not voting. There is no mechanism for writing somebody in, but let's vote on that. And then in a couple of minutes, we can come back to the motion that's now before us from Rachel. Rachel, you had sent me an email message. The answer to your question is no, he is not. John Sarbach, if you're with us, you are not a voting member. So if a ballot gets sent to you, please do not use it.
Thank you for the clarification.
There are a couple of people who just joined who won't have ballots either because they didn't get here fast enough. But we did warn people in the call to the meeting that if you weren't here by the start, we didn't hear from you as a registrant by the beginning of the meeting, you might not get a ballot. And the last couple of people to join might fall into that category. It turns out that Election Runner has added a bunch of extra little check boxes and things to get the election started, which is why it took so long. It wasn't, it was different than the last time I used it. Okay, once you know where all the things are, you have to push and check, but
Okay.
Took a little longer.
Heidi is saying that she didn't get a ballot.
I will look and see.
I gave you Heidi's updated email address, Bill. I don't know if you have the ability to enter her address.
I might have the ability. What I've got is Heidi JV. Is that the beginning of that's the most recent one you sent me?
No. That's close, but Heidi, is it okay if I say it?
Maybe no, not on if it's on YouTube. No, thank you.
It's on YouTube, and that's why I'm not saying anymore.
Okay. It's the Gmail address, not Hotmail.
Oh, okay.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, I see it. Whether I can, it looks like I can add you, so I will try.
Thank you so much for respecting my privacy and my email. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have about 3:48. We'll consider the election closed in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, Barry, you've been waiting patiently with your hand up. Barry, are you with us? If you're muted, can you unmute yourself? Hey, Barry, while you're working out your audio, Sarah, I see your hand up.
Yes, my hand was up specifically for after Barry to motion an end of debate. So if he can debate whether or not we are moving forward with Rachel's suggestion, if he has something to add, I'd prefer to wait for him.
Okay, Barry, can you join us right before Sarah calls the question? I want to give you an opportunity to contribute, but unfortunately, we need to be able to hear you, and we're not hearing you right now.
Barry, if you're able, can you type in the chat?
Let me know if she does. Heidi, please let me know if you don't have a ballot. It just went out.
All right, Sarah has called the question. That is a not debatable motion, and it can carry by a majority. So
can you guys hear me?
Is that you, Barry?
Yes.
Barry, is that you speaking to us? Unfortunately, it was very brief. Sarah has called the question. That is a non-debatable motion. It can be carried by a majority. I would ask that those in favor of ending the debate on Rachel's motion, which again does not have specifics. It is a motion that this body not make a decision today, that it go to the executive committee to come back with a proposal. All those who support that, raise your hands. We have, I believe, 33 voting members here. Is there anybody who is raising a hand, but not with the hand? Okay, Paula, I see your hand up. That gets us to 19. All right, if you can lower your hands, all those, I probably can do this with a click of a button, but let's see if we can lower hands. Heidi, can you lower your hand? Heidi, you still need to lower your hand. Well, I can probably do this.
Can you guys hear me?
All right, all those who are opposed to Rachel's motion, raise your hand. All right, Rachel's motion carries. That would end discussion of a membership list policy for today. It doesn't end discussion permanently. The executive committee will consider this. All suggestions from members will be welcomed by the executive committee, and we will look at all suggestions. We would hope to have a proposal for this group. If not by the next meeting, then the meeting after that. Bill, do we have ballots in? Do we have the results in on the election for vice chair?
We have some results in, but I sent out 51, it looks like I sent out 51 ballots or something very like that, and I have 16 to 10, which means I have plenty of outstanding ballots that people haven't returned yet to change the result.
Well, I think I said that this would be closed at 3:50. It's now past that. I think you sent ballots to people who are not here at the meeting, because I only see 35 people as participants, and I believe 2 of those are not voting members. So
okay.
I think that the results that you have are the results of a fair election. If you could tell us what those results are.
The results are Sarah Gormandy, 16 votes, Angel Butts, 10 votes.
All right, Sarah, congratulations. You are the new vice chair of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee. Angel, thank you for running. I think the next item on our agenda is asking how often this group wants to meet as a default. I had been inviting the membership to meet every other month. That was an increase from the previous practice, which was quarterly. We have now met 2 months in a row. And with elections and caucuses coming up, I think that we will have plenty to discuss in November as well. How does membership feel about meeting monthly as a regular basis, keeping it every other month, but adding in consecutive months as needed? Just leave it as it is? Is there a feeling one way or another? If I don't get, let's say, a motion, then I will continue the practice of the default being every other month, but asking this group for permission to meet in consecutive months as the business that we have to do suggests it. Yes, we did, Damon. I'm sorry, you are absolutely correct. What passed was ending debate. I stand corrected. Thank you. So now before the body is Rachel's motion. I apologize. I was absolutely wrong. And thank you for keeping me honest. Now before the group is Rachel's motion to put this off to the executive committee. I think that what might simplify things is if people in their reactions have both a check and an X. All those who support Rachel's motion, either raise your hand or hit the green check. All those who oppose, hit the red X. And that lets us get this done in one step. Unless, Rachel, did you have a comment? I saw your hand. Okay.
No, my comment was handled by Damon.
Thank you both. You were both right. I was wrong. So now I believe, accurately say that Rachel's motion has carried. There are 23 in support. I see no red X's opposed. All right. Thank you. So back to the question of how often. Heidi, I'm not sure if you're making a motion that we meet quarterly. Again, that will be meeting less often than we have been in 2021, but that is certainly a motion that you can make. Lanny, I see your hand. And I think you're muted. There you
I
go.
forgot to take my hand down. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
no problem. Damon, I see your hand.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I like the idea of meeting every other month unless there's some specific reason to have a special meeting. And I also strongly suggest we try to make our summer meeting be something fun, outdoor picnic meeting. So whichever of the summer months falls in that 2-month cycle will be we plan to have be a fun outdoor picnic at Kiwanis Club or whatever.
Okay. And I hope that COVID lets us do that. Damon, is that a suggestion? Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion. Yep.
Okay, so you're voting. You are, if I understand you correctly, you are moving that our default be every other month, with the option of meeting more frequently if membership approves. Does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Rachel, now I see your hand, and Marie, I see you next.
That's okay. I was going to second, but somebody jumped in faster.
Yeah.
All right.
I jumped in. I second.
Okay. Was that Marie? Is that you?
No, it's
you
Nancy is seconding.
Okay. Marie, I see your hand.
Yeah, my only flag would be to make sure that this is clearly communicated with membership, as most were elected into a commitment of 4 meetings a year. And when we significantly change that commitment, our members may not be able to participate. And I didn't review the bylaws to see if there were consequences towards missing meetings. Okay, great. I'm trusting Rachel's shaking of the head.
So first of all, I don't believe
Awesome.
that anybody was elected with any obligation, with a belief that meetings are going to be quarterly and stay that way. And no, there is no penalty for missing meetings. I believe that the frequency of meetings is as established by the chair and as then decided by membership. But the important point is there is no penalty for missing meetings. It's great if everybody can make every meeting, but people who miss meetings, that's part of life. So there is a motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion on Damon's motion? All right, then I would ask people to vote as we just did. If you are in favor of Damon's motion, which is that the default is every other month, with more frequency as approved by membership, raise your hand or use the green check. And if you are opposed, use the red X. I see 23 votes in 26 votes in support of Damon's motion, 1 vote against. We're now up to 27 votes in support of Damon's motion, 1 vote against. So Damon's motion carries. The default will be every other month. At the end of this meeting, I will ask if this group, or maybe I can ask now. My suggestion is that we have more business to take care of next month. How does membership feel about adding another meeting in November? Is there anyone opposed to that? Rachel, I saw your hand first. And you're muted?
This is one of those times when the press of business is coming up. One of the things that both Gorham and Scarborough are facing is a special election to replace a House member who has suddenly resigned. So it's likely that, at least in Scarborough, we're going to be heavily involved in November and possibly the beginning of December, because we don't have a schedule yet in a campaign. So it would be that would be tough for us.
I don't want to schedule a meeting when a large number of our members can't make it. Sarah.
I was going to mention the same thing, that some of our municipalities have elections coming up in November. And it might be very hard for us to get business done. And what I'm seeing from what we're doing moving forward is we have a lot of XCOM things that are coming up for the membership. So maybe when we get through this meeting, it would be best to see if we have a lot of executive committee responsibilities and have the executive committee meeting through November a little bit more often and being prepared for membership after the elections.
Executive committee has been meeting every other week as is. We can discuss whether the executive committee wants to and or needs to meet more frequently than that. Heidi.
Yes, I was wondering if there might be any reason why we might want to be meeting to help support any local candidates that are running. I know that Sarah was talking about the fact that people might not be able to meet, but if there's any reason for us to be meeting to help do any kind of candidating for any local candidates, so that we might be able to help to get out the vote somehow. Just a question.
Everybody's always encouraged to help candidates. If everybody's always encouraged to do that on their own. If it's to be an action of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee, then it would need to be voted on by the Cumberland County Democratic Committee. Bill.
Realize that we've talked about November and December. The meeting of or the time of consequence is the caucuses in March, where the county committee does have to do some stuff, including doing training courses for town chairs who haven't run one and so forth. So there are a number of other activities which are going to come up because of the caucuses in March. And so I don't think we want to take on any more than we've already taken on. Because some of those are, they may have happened every 2 years, but there are a lot of town chairs who have never handled a caucus.
All right, I'm not hearing any support for the idea of meeting in November. So with the motion that just carried, the next meeting of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee will be in December. That's probably, hopefully people will be able to do their holidaying and still make a meeting, but that's what we'll be aiming for, is roughly the middle of December. And that brings us back to social media policy, I believe. When we left it a month ago, a lot of ideas had been shared. There had been a lot of discussion. I'm not sure where people want to pick it up again, but last month we were instructed to pick this up again this month. So here we are. And if anybody has a motion to make about social media policy or wants to just continue with discussion, I'll open up the floor. Angel, I see your hand up.
I just wanted to start off, since I sort of put these, put these agenda items together. I wanted to start off by sort of pointing out that anytime that we're dealing with a social media policy having to do with Facebook, there has to be some sort of open-endedness or looseness, because Facebook likes to change what it's doing without warning. The interface that I had written, the first draft of the policy, changed completely when I went back after the last meeting. They completely revised it. So given that they're going to do things like that, we have to sort of keep that in mind as we have this discussion, that we can't, when we can't really get to the minutia of things because they're subject to change all the time. One of the things that came up at the last meeting, for example, was translation of posts. And I remembered, like, I went immediately right after that meeting, and I found that there was a great little box that you could check that said to allow the post to be your post to be translated. Facebook can be read in any language. So if you speak French, then you could read Facebook in French no matter what it's posted, what language it's posted in. So there was a box that you could check that allowed your post to be translated. And this new interface, as of last week, I can't find that box anywhere. Are things still being translated automatically? I assume so, but I have no idea. So at first I thought the translation is not going to be a problem. Now I have no idea. So I just, I wanted to make it clear that we can't be too specific in terms of setting a policy in stone in writing and making it a rule. So that was one thing I wanted to say. Another thing I wanted to say is I wanted to thank Rachel Hendrickson for her for the guidance that she sent in terms of the standing policy that had been in place before the new executive committee came in. It was very, very helpful in sort of starting out the language of these new of these new policies. I'm sorry they were so long, but because pages and groups function differently and have different points of view and exist for different reasons, they needed different rules, different sets of rules. I think that's all I really needed to say in terms of introduction, but please, if you have any questions or anything you want to discuss, go nuts.
Sarah, I see your hand.
Hello, thank you. I think we all just heard for a little while that I make my living on social media, managing political pages. And one of the things that is something that I've learned over these last 6 years is that something that we cannot do is manage interactions. And it seems that these guidelines here are very, very, very much focused on people who can see these things and interact with them, which is very hard to manage. I mean, it's a full-time job. That's why people are hired into those positions. And I'm concerned mostly with how much work these current guidelines make for volunteers. And I think one of the ways to make these guidelines much easier for volunteers to manage is not to create guidelines around how these pages are used by people who can see them, but how these pages are used by the administrators. For example, making rules around like membership seems very, very hard and takes a lot of maintenance. I know this because you can get 1,000 people to suddenly want to join your group, and then your volunteers are bogged down. There's also like some preconceived notions about what it means to be in these groups. Being members only really does limit anyone ever seeing your content. So that being said, these guidelines kind of make the page and the group come almost entirely inefficient. They aren't going to do what they need to do, which is have people see what the CCDC wants communicated to them. So for that to happen, you have to have sort of interactions that aren't observed, aren't, submitted to a page and then approved. And all of those steps make it so that you do not have content on your page in a regular interval. And having done this for many years, a regular interval is 3 times a day. So really for pages that are run by volunteers, it's almost important for their survival that they do have engagement that is outside of approved membership. So what I'm seeing is a lot of interaction that would make us feel comfortable about what is said and posted on these pages. I suggest that we consider being uncomfortable and consider doing things a little bit differently. The Facebook algorithm, as Angel mentioned, changes just about every week. And the only thing that's consistent is engagement, is what bumps your stuff to visible people, even within your group, even within your private group, even within your membership list. All of those things are boosted by people engaging in your content. So these sort of restrictions around content posting in itself kind of eliminates even bothering posting. Like people have to seek out this information. And then secondly, the group itself has already been made private with 900 plus members. There seems to be no reason to purge that list. That will in effect make it a dead page. If you purge that list, you will lose engagement and you will lose just being visible. So people who wanted to interact with the Cumberland County Democrats as members, they won't even have interaction. So limiting it to members only will kill your page. I think the way that the page is set up now is private with 3 screening questions is an excellent way for volunteers to manage that page. And after that, let go. Volunteers managing the page can manage content by hiding things that make them uncomfortable. I think that's a wonderful guiding rule. If you see something and read something and it makes you uncomfortable, just hide it. You don't have to delete it. You don't have to ban anyone, but only the person and their friends will see it. And you still get engagement, which is the only thing that keeps Facebook pages alive. And if anybody has questions about those things, this is what I do my work in and write my thesis on. So I can answer all of them, mostly. Unless somebody's writing a PhD on their PhD dissertation on it, I might be fully immersed as immersion goes.
All right. I am going to point out that while Sarah has remarkable credentials, she is offering her opinion, and nobody should feel that Sarah has the definitive answers to any of these questions. If anybody disagrees with Sarah, they are free to say so or not say so. But I would ask, we're all offering opinions, and we should be encouraging discussion, not trying to make other people feel like they don't have anything to contribute. Rachel, I see your hand next.
Yeah, thank you. speaking as an organizer and somebody who's worked for many years on developing membership, I'm also very concerned about purging the list that we have. We worked to get 900, I think 955 folks looking at the Facebook. And now I'm not clear whether it's a page or a group, to tell you the truth, but at what we have used. I think a private page for members works, but I think if we don't have a public facing page, and we've got one with 955 people on it, then we lose enthusiasm. We lose a way to reach out. I guess I'll use the same term Sarah did, which was I'm afraid it would be then a dead page. What I was thinking of is many of those people were members of CCDC in the past, but just happen to not be members now. Or they were people who volunteered but weren't interested in CCDC meetings, but were interested in finding out what was going on with Democrats. I would estimate that of the 955 people that we have now, I would bet we on January 1st or whenever the magic date is, we will be down to about 150, if that, and at the caucus, we would lose about 75 of those. Simply because there are a lot of people on that Facebook page who aren't CCDC members, but are strong Democrats, are interested in engaged Democrats. Just in terms of implementation, remember we have about 230 members right now. On March 6th, we dropped to about 5, because that's the executive committee, who are the only ones who automatically continue. Then as soon as the caucus results start coming in, we start adding new members. Terms end on March 6th and begin on March 6th. So it would take, I would estimate, given the way List Fixer and data works, getting into List Fixer, it would be 2 to 3 weeks before we actually knew who the members were for the next 2 years. And nowhere on the list of required information is anything that says, give it your Facebook page. So that would not transfer to the CCDC. In other words, the implementation would be a tremendous, absolutely tremendous amount of work with people trying to find who the new members are, purge old members. It's administratively, it's a mess, and organizationally, people will start to wonder what happened to their access and to their membership. So I understand. I think the idea of having a separate page for membership, exclusive to membership, works with the understanding that there's going to be a monster implementation process in March. But to eliminate 800 Democrats who really are interested enough to get involved, I think from a membership and organizational and organizing perspective, that's shooting ourselves in the foot. Thank you.
Rachel has years of experience that I don't, but I would say that the administrative work in updating a membership list is going to have to be done on March 7th, regardless of a change in Facebook policy or not, because as Rachel has told us, the entire membership of the CCDC is going to change on March 6th, except for about 5 people. So administration is still going to have to compile a list of the new membership of this group, whatever social media policy is. That's a different issue than whether it's a good idea to purge a group. But in terms of the administration of it, I'm not sure that it's quite as nightmarish as Rachel is fearing. I would also say that we do not at this point know that the 900 people who are currently in the Facebook group are in fact Democrats. They are people who were let in at one time. They are people who are still in. They may not have been Democrats when they were let in. They may no longer be Democrats. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think it would be incorrect to assume that all of the people who are currently a member of the Facebook group are Democrats in Cumberland County or Democrats at all. Just putting it out there to think about. Heidi, I see your hand next.
Yes, I just did a little research about the number. And first, I should say that I've been very active as a social media person, especially on Facebook. Very active with sharing out things from Standing Rock and making sure that we have a living planet. And the thing that that I'm wondering, I just noticed that we do have a Maine Cumberland County Democratic city, a Maine Democratic page, but I do notice there's also a page out of Pennsylvania that's a Cumberland County, and they have like 2,000 followers, and I think that it's might be a really important thing for us to look at how we can engage in bringing the numbers up of our, not just our members' eyeballs to the Facebook page, but also to how we can utilize our membership of the 900 people to help elevate to our Facebook page, and how much time a person might be willing to volunteer that time to help bring that other Facebook page up to more current standards. I don't know if Sarah has the time with all of her work to help with that. I'm in the middle of my own work right now to take care of some things in my own life, so I can't volunteer that time as I would like to have but I just would like to bring that to your attention, to people's attention, and to maybe help to bring that Facebook page, not the group, more in terms of helping to elevate us so that we can help our candidates and our causes that we're working to elevate. Anyway, I'm a little inarticulateness here for a moment, but thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Sarah.
Very helpful. I want to speak to our concerns about who are in the group, mainly because a lot of my work has been organizing off of social media. And I can tell you that I joined newsletters and Facebook groups for the Republican Party. I do that regularly. So I would almost 100% guarantee that there are Republicans in our Facebook groups. And I think we should assume that and continue moving forward with working that way. I think before everything moved to social media, and as people are recognizing here already in the meeting, as we move off of social media, that how we use these tools has to be different. There is no privacy in Facebook or WhatsApp or any of those non-encrypted and sometimes encrypted applications. So who is a member, and if they are using their real name, their voter registration name, their given name, that doesn't happen on Facebook. That doesn't happen on social media. So when we say logistically, this is hard to consider who is a member and who is not, it is not just that it is hard to consider who is a member and who is not. It is hard to consider who's a human being and who is not, who is a real person and who is a bot. And I know we can consider this for a moment, how many people have been hacked in this group and received messages from many people saying, hey, click on this link. So these are not spaces where we can really quantify what it is to be like a members only space, even if they are private. So these reflections of how we use the space and how we move forward with policy for the CCDC on how we use Facebook really needs to consider that these are not private spaces, that these are public spaces, and that we cannot control membership inflow, outflow, and engagement. And that is appropriate. I think somebody asked in the comments, do the DNC or the main Dems have any guidelines use of social media? 100%. That is what digital organizing is and does. Currently, the main Dems have consultants who manage what is the proper way to, like, how the main Dems, the state, operates with social media, and they have guidelines. And then the DNC has that as well. And those are evolving with each time the algorithm changes. So we can do this in a way where we adopt already given down from the DNC platform use guidelines, or we can make our own. But either way, we're in a space where controlling membership and engagement, even as a full-time job, isn't what full-time digital organizers are doing.
Rachel.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that of the 900 plus people that we have, I have no doubt that people have moved out of state or out of Cumberland County. And I think going through that list and ensuring that the people are Democrats in Cumberland County, or at least in Cumberland County, is something that could be done if somebody has the time to do it. And I don't call that a purge. I call that following, in a sense, following rules, because we say you got to be a Democrat living in Cumberland County. In terms of Republicans on there, for the last 6 years, I've made sure that there weren't when anybody wanted to join, or that they weren't unenrolled. Simply, if somebody asked a friend, could a friend join? I've checked on the friend. Harlan Baker, who was on here before, it did the same. We were as careful as we could be. If the van was accurate, then the people who came onto, if we led onto the Facebook page, were Democrats living in Cumberland County. And note, I said if the van was accurate. I think that's, I think if somebody wants to go and double check that, that's fine. You will find some folks who have moved. But I go back to what I said before in terms of membership in the CCDC. What you will get from List Fixer will be the name of the people, the towns, and some information on contact information of Facebook, not Facebook page, but of email or phone. Not entirely, and you will find that some people couldn't translate numbers on their forms, and the Cumberland County Executive Committee or another committee is going to have to double check that whole list that ultimately comes in to make sure that it's accurate. And so, yes, to that extent, you're going to have to be doing a lot of the same work. But nothing on that list contains information about Facebook. So if you want to extend information, extend a welcome to new members and remove old members, you can extend the welcome through MailChimp once you've updated the MailChimp list. And you'll know to purge old members because they won't be on the list that you get. And the list, by the way, comes in by towns, not for all of Cumberland County. So it is going to be a monster job one way or the other. And it's not going to be easy because the information isn't always accurate. And there's a lot of phone calls that have to be made. I vividly remember from 2 years ago when Mark Bryant had the wrong email address, and I happened to know what it was, and he actually wasn't even listed as a member, but his email address was attached to another person, and I had to spend time cleaning that up. So it is work. It's constant, ongoing work. And if we can keep it relatively simple, that will chew up less volunteer time. I think the implementation is, we have the current rules. We need to go into it with eyes wide open. If these are going to be the guidelines, we need to understand that there's going to be an awful lot of work, double checking phone calls to town clerks, phone calls to town chairs, phone calls to the people involved, checks with the data people, or the new data guy up at the MDP, because Cumberland County can get 3,000 to 4,000 caucus forms, and in a year with the gubernatorial election, it might get 5,000 caucus forms, and we end up tracking an awful lot of them.
Thank you, Rachel. I note that it's now about 4:30. I estimate that we have like 10 minutes of other business still left. At least one person was a little concerned that our meeting in September ran quite a bit long. I'd like us to be able to wrap up at 5 o'clock if we can do that. How much more discussion would people like on social media policy? Is somebody ready to make a motion? Do we want to just leave things open-ended? What are people's pleasure? Are we done discussing social media without coming to any decision today? We're ready for the next agenda item. Sarah.
I would like to motion to lay on the table and bring this back to the XCOM and take into consideration the membership's debate today.
Second. All right. This is a debatable motion that carries by a majority. Is there any discussion about Sarah's motion? Damon.
Yeah, so would that mean that the emergency rules, I think that was what they were called, that were put into place, was it maybe 2 months ago, would stay in effect until another decision is made?
The policies that were implemented by the executive committee would remain in place until this body replaces them. Yes. And to be clear, the policies that the executive committee implemented replaced some emergency decisions that I had made. So what I did a few months ago has already been replaced. What is in place right now is the policy adopted by the executive committee. Right, seeing no other discussion, all those who support Sarah's motion to lay this on the table until a next meeting, which I believe is going to be in December, please either raise your hand or vote with the green check mark. All those opposed can use the red X. And if you don't have those cute little emojis, if you want to wave your hand at me, I can count your hand as a yes. All right, I see Steve Fendrickson waving his hand in the background. All right, it looks like there are 19 votes in favor of laying this on the table, no votes opposed. So we now have two matters that are going to the executive committee, and that is fine. And the executive committee will report back as soon as we possibly can. I think what would then be next is, Tom, you wanted to say something briefly about platform. I don't think it would be appropriate to have a full discussion about various platform options because that was not promoted to membership. But I give you the floor to at least get a discussion started.
Thank you, Seth. And really, I just want to make this brief and just give a quick update to people, let you know where we are. So myself and there's other people on this call that are in the platform committee. And at our last meeting a couple weeks ago, we voted as the platform committee to keep the framework of the current platform, which is a values-based document, will be the basis of the platform for the 22 convention. So with that in mind, and I don't know the best way to do this because we're having this discussion about having people's emails being public, but if there's a way to somehow communicate back to people on the platform committee about areas that you like, don't like, general topics, we're not looking at getting into the soups and nuts of wordsmithing, but if there are, looking at the current platform, if you see that there are topics that you feel are not being covered appropriately or not covered at all, that would be very helpful for us on the platform committee to know so that we can bring those back to the subsequent meetings as we look to redraft the platform for 2022. So I don't know, Seth, if it makes sense possibly to have suggestions funneled through you and you could, but again, we don't know who all in the Cumberland County with their email addresses on the platform committee, but trying to think of a way we can try and communicate any suggestions to the platform committee or members of the platform committee.
I think that's a very welcome invitation, Tom. I don't think that this meeting is the place to start making suggestions.
No, I'm not that, Seth. I'm just trying to see if there's a way that we could somehow funnel those suggestions to myself. I'd be more than happy, I guess, to be the landing spot if people want, and I'll try and get those out to the other members of the Cumberland County Platform Committee. But I'm just trying to figure out a way to get people, if they have feedback or have ideas on the platform, to be able to funnel those to a member of the Platform Committee so that I can bring your issues of concern or ideas to the overall committee. But again, I just want to make sure that people understand the format of the platform is going to remain the same. So if you look onto the Democratic website, you'll see the platform there, a series of I believe statements. That is going to be the format that's going to be maintained for this year. Obviously, the wording of those various I believe statements will be potentially redrafted or maybe scuttled or add new ones. But I just wanted to hear if people had some specific, not so specific, particularly ideas about areas that they think might need to be worked on, or ideas that may not have even been there at all. So that's really what I'm looking for. Not looking getting into a discussion right now about the platform because we're a long ways from that, but it's more just ideas for people may have about the platform.
Thank you. Just a clarification. The platform committee is going to consider input and then make a proposal to the convention. It's the convention that will have the final say on the platform of the Cumberland County Democratic, the Maine Democratic Party. Hopefully the convention is not going to tell Cumberland County what to do, but so when Tom is saying we're not changing the format, it may be that the platform committee is not contemplating that, but the convention would have the authority to do so.
True. The platform we'll be proposing to the convention will be in the format we have now. Another quick clarifier as well is that once the platform committee comes up with a final product, that will also come back to this Cumberland County committee for review for final input before it goes to the state convention. So that will be sometime next winter.
I have been very public with my email address. And so rather than making somebody else go public with theirs, anyone who has suggestions for platform that would like those suggestions to reach the platform committee, you're welcome to send them to me. Tom, I can then pass them on to you. Does that sound like a good funneling method?
I think that makes the most amount of sense where we are today.
All right. Sarah, I saw your hand, then Damon next.
Mine is a electronic logistics question, and I don't know if this is a question for Bill or for Seth or for even Angel. Communications, in some settings, people have communications that are labeled, i.e. chair of the chair at Cumberland County Dems, etc. Do we have that capability with communications with our standing XCOM seats?
I'm not sure that that's a question that's addressing platform.
It is not. It's a logistics question.
Okay. I don't think that that's properly before us right now, Sarah, though we can certainly look at it. I just don't want us to get sidetracked into other issues. Damon, do you have a comment on what Tom said about platform?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Tom, for doing this outreach. As a former platform committee member, I appreciate that. There's still an opportunity for all the members to give input. Just a clarifying question. I know a lot of us are involved with some election stuff for the November elections. What's sort of your time frame for looking for some of this early input from the general membership here? And is it, when is your next meeting? When are you looking for that? And do you think it'd be okay if it came in, say, just after this upcoming election?
Give me 1 second. I'm just looking at the. We're actually having our next meeting on next Monday, the 25th. And we haven't scheduled the next one after that. There'll be plenty of opportunity going forward, but that's our next meeting.
Okay, so are you looking for something by the 25th? Would that be helpful for you? I mean, I could.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if people do have some ideas, kind of at the ready, would be nice to get those to us before next Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Lanny.
A quick thing. I think it helps for people to know who's on the platform committee. And I'm somebody who is on the platform committee, and I know Paula Coyle is, and I'm not sure who else who is present is, but I think that's helpful. And the second thing is, Seth, if you could forward to me as well as to Tom and to Paula what comes in, that would be helpful. Because I think the sooner ideas come in, the better, but there is going to be plenty of time for input. Thank you.
I will try to put together a CC list on email of suggestions that I get. I will make my best effort to do so.
Thank you. Well, I'll send you my email, and I'm sure that Paula will too.
I'm just making a note to myself. Sorry, phones are ringing. Rachel.
Yeah, it's not the platform, but it's the items I mentioned to you earlier. So if somebody else wants the platform, then I'll wait.
No, I hadn't forgotten you, Rachel. Once we're done with Tom's agenda item, next would be looking at new members, and then announcements, and that would be, I haven't forgotten you, Rachel. Can we do it in that order? Okay, that looks like a nodding of the head. So I think that this brings us to the electing of new members to the Cumberland County Democratic Committee. We are open to as many people as are registered Democrats in Cumberland County as are interested I would like to introduce one who I'm very happy to have now with us. Jonathan Sarbach has been the district attorney for Cumberland County. He was elected as an unenrolled person. He has registered as a Democrat as of September. He has registered with the Ethics Commission to run for re-election as a Democrat. That puts another office in the Democrat column, assuming that he does get re-elected. With the membership's permission, I'd like John to just have a minute or two to introduce himself, and I would like to welcome him to the Cumberland County Democratic group. We haven't elected him as a member. We still have to do that, but I would like to give him the chance to introduce himself. If you're still with us, Jonathan.
Yes, thank you, Seth. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the kind words. It's good to see a few people on here that I already know, Representative Rickett and Senator Carney from my work in Augusta, and also Ursula. Good to see you from Ursula and I work in a few community groups up in Bridgeton together. So it's good to see all of you today. And again, thank you, Seth, for having me. Yes, my name is Jonathan Sarbach. I'm the district attorney here in Cumberland County. I am newly enrolled as a Maine Democrat. And I will be seeking re-election, but more importantly, I would love to talk with all of you or hear from some of you about what I have been doing as district attorney over the last 3 some odd years. Seth and I see each other quite frequently, usually on the other side of the courtroom. But I think from our working relationship, I think Seth and I have a very good sort of working relationship on what we do in the criminal justice system. I have been tackling this job as DA with the hope of really trying to get down to the root causes, which so many of people who are involved in the criminal justice system and trying to really try and reach out and talk to people about trauma, adverse childhood experiences, mental health issues, substance use disorder, which really are why people are involved in the criminal justice system, from my opinion, and really coming up with solutions that are going to help out a lot of people as opposed to just incarceration, because we know that that has not been working for many years, and we need to all take steps to try to do better. And I know that my role as DA, I can start with my office and try to help with the criminal justice system. So I'll put my contact information in the chat. And if people want to just reach out to say hello or ask what we're doing, maybe we can grab some coffee or chat over email or on the phone. That would be great. But thank you very much. It's great to be here, and I appreciate seeing all of you.
John, are you looking to become a member of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee?
Sure. I don't really know what it entails. Maybe Seth, you and I could talk about it. But yeah, no, it's definitely interested. I mean, I'm here for a reason, and that's to really kind of get to know all of you and find out what you're all interested in, especially with the DA's race, because the district attorney is a different position than what, say, a legislator does. But it is something that I think is very important to know what people are thinking or what people are seeing, and listening to what people are doing to see if we can improve. And I say we, I mean me, with what I do as district attorney. So yeah, I would be interested, Seth.
Sarah, I had seen your hand up. Did you have a question for John, or did you have another name to put forward?
I'm sorry, I got confused about where we were on the agenda. We're asking for new members?
Yes.
Okay. Nice to meet you, John.
Nice to meet you, Sarah.
Is there anyone else who's been listening in on this meeting who is not currently a member? It was brought to my attention that last month, Christina Mitchell may have thought that she was a member. She helped out at our booth at the Cumberland County Fair. She is not, in fact, a member officially. So that's another name that this body can consider. So I think we have Jonathan and Christine Mitchell. Is there any objection to either one of them becoming a member of the Cumberland County Democratic Committee? Seeing no objection. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Christine, in absentia. Rachel, you now have some information to give us.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mentioned it briefly before, but on Friday, Kyle Bailey, the rep from HD 27, resigned. That represents Scarborough and Gorham. It represents about 12% of Scarborough, his district. So we will be holding a special election. And for those of you who haven't been involved in that, what it does mean is that the town committees meet and select who is going to run on behalf of the Democrats. So that's coming up. And the other thing is the reapportionment has been finished in conversation with the Secretary of State. It's going to take a while before we know actually, before they manage to transfer a lot of the data because the caucus meeting that we have on March 6th should feature those people who are going to be running for the new districts, whether House or Senate or Commissioner. A lot of districts, I took a look at some of the information, and a lot of the districts, there isn't a change, but when there is, it's a doozy. Scarborough went from the 12% of Gorham to 0% of Gorham, but 48% of a brand new district. So now there are two full districts and 48% of another one in Scarborough. That district also includes some of Westbrook and some of Saco. So there are some changes, some big changes out there. If you can talk to your legislator may be able to point you to where you can find the physical description, not the map, because that'll drive you crazy, but the physical description of the districts. I took that and then I just took a map and traced out the new lines so that as folks start to get confused and call, at least I can haul out my map and say, you're now in this district, or you will be come next year. So there's going to be confusion because there are going to be people running for districts that don't exist now at the caucus. People will show up to the wrong places. They will be confused. They'll wonder why somebody isn't running when they thought they were running. So the more information we can get as CCDC members about at least our own districts or our own towns, the more we can help end some confusion that inevitably comes with reapportionment. So that's what I have.
Thank you. That's really important. Anybody have any questions, brief questions for Rachel? Does anybody else have any announcements of interest to this group?
Seth, I think Representative Rickett had her hand up.
Sorry, I missed you. Yes, go ahead, Lois.
I don't remember the gory details of the entire county. What I do know is that the districts in South Portland have shifted predominantly because of an increase in voters in District 33 that has caused a shift over of some voters into 32 and then some into my district in 31. But I don't think it's a huge disruption in the city. There is another district in Portland that's now served by Grayson Lookner, and his district is really now only about half what it used to be in the other district he ran in. So he's got a huge challenge ahead to get reelected in his new district. And I think there might be one other one in Portland, but I'm not positive. I remember that Grayson's is filed up from his perspective and a reelection perspective. So he might be reaching out to us for help, I think, but past that, I don't remember the total details, except that we did manage to pass it by the 2/3 vote. And there were 3 Democratic districts that got screwed up and 3 Republican districts that got screwed up. So I guess that was how they compromised us into the the plan.
Thank you. I think probably Robert and Heidi have some new announcements. Anything else from the redistricting? Okay, Robert.
Just quickly, anyone interested in working on hate crimes and hate crime measures to reduce or combat hate crimes, please contact me. I put my details in the chat. If you didn't see it, you can text me at 207-756-2314, 207-756-2314. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Robert. I was unable to make your last meeting. I hope I can make the next one. Heidi.
Yes, I would be remiss if I did not say anything about vote yes on one on referendum.
Okay, Heidi,
one.
I don't think this is the right forum to do campaigning on an issue in which people feel strongly. I mean, this is something we could talk about for hours.
Well, I just wanted to let people know that if they could check out my Facebook profile caption, I have information about that.
Okay, I mean that's good. Everybody should be very well informed. It's a complex issue. There are people who feel strongly both ways, and let's vote the ways that we think is best on that. Is there any other new business announcements? $4:57, we're in 3 minutes under. Thank everyone. Looking at my calendar, I think we're probably going to be best served by December 12th. December 19 gets awfully close to a holiday that's important to many people. Hopefully December 12th is not going to be a conflict, but if anybody has suggestions for the best meeting time in December, with December 26th really not being a good choice at all, you can let me know, but that's one of the things that the executive committee will be looking at, trying to find the day that might work best for membership. Again, thank you all for being here, giving up part of your Sunday for doing Democratic Party work. We've had some great conversations, and I'm sure we'll have a similar level of conversation next time. Sarah, do you have something other than a motion to adjourn?
It's the motion to adjourn.
Well done. Thank you all. See you next time.